Hey guys, what's happening? Hope you enjoyed our new little promo there, which shows who's going to be on the shows Monday through Friday. That'll be updated every week. Welcome to the Singularity Lab. I'm Luis Jimenez. Michael's getting ready backstage. Kristen will be here as well. I think we're still waiting to confirm if Alien Scientist is coming. He's on the fence. I'm not sure what's going on. Hopefully he's okay. We've got, let's check out the chat. Let's see who's here. So Case for Infinity, so great to see you here at the Singularity Lab, my friend. Saying, okay, AC, then go back to sleep. We'll wake up when it gets exciting. Love it. We got, who else here? Gelric Sagnius. Hello there. Hello back. How are you? He also says, or she says, the Pentagon has confirmed Jeremy Corbell's latest video is real. Well, we've got some news for you there, so don't sweat it. We got you covered. We'll be talking about all of this today. Gaddy Schwartz at Gaddy NBC, Justin from Pentagon spokesperson. I can confirm that the video you sent was taken by Navy personnel. Interesting. And then we've also got, and that the UAPTF included in their ongoing examinations. I have no further information on it for you. Well, we got to wait and see what else comes out of this footage. But again, we're going to talk about it all today. Let's see here. Where did my... Oh, there it is. Pre-show notes. Here we go. So, we've got some fun folks coming on the show today. Michael's going to go over all of them. Looking down the show sheet to see who we got here. Let me see. Okay, so, well, we're going to be talking about, I'll tell you what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be breaking down Jeremy Corbell's new release, and we're going to be discussing anti-gravity versus antimatter, and what the relation may be to UFO and the UAP phenomena. So that's going to be really fun. And we've got some new folks in the chat. What's going on? Ethereal Aura, John Russell. Let's see. Hello, Luis. Oh my God, Atai. Thank you guys for noticing. We're working really hard to make sure that this show looks as professional and clean as possible. And we're working on our new format. So today's going to be a 2-hour show. So I think we're ready to go. Michael as well. I don't see Michael in front of the camera yet, so I'll wait for him to get back. And let's see here. We've got Precise Improv Arena. Interesting. Improv. I've never heard of the Precise Improv Arena. I might have to check that out. Yeah. Thank you for noticing the tie. John Russell, what is going on? Again, Ethereal Aura. Oh, look who's here. My girlfriend, Michelle. Hello. Love the new intro. Thank you for loving the new intro, babe. All right. So I see Michael's back. We're going to be going through the comments as the show goes. Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Right now, since we're starting the show, this is going to be a really fun show. We're all talking all about Jeremy Corbell and the new data drop. So let's do it. Let's get started with the Singularity Lab, you guys. Where is my show start? Is this it, Michael? Yo. I thought you were going to play the opening.
No. I see. We're developing this new format, and I completely screwed it up, so I take full responsibility for that.
Oh, no, that's okay. We can still do it.
You want to do it
We can still do it. Yeah, where is it? I mean, Christina
okay,
worked
I can
hard
find
on
it. Yeah.
I mean, like, I see it. Tell me where it is in the brand. Is it the live show 12? Is that
no, I got to share it.
Oh, okay. I thought, you can upload them right here, right?
I do. But you know what?
This is the new format. This is the new format. We're working on it. Literally, as you guys are watching.
And ready? Here we go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Here we go. And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Singularity Lab, the show where we get a little bit weird and we talk about the science tech that is breaking, changing the world, changing humanity forever. Luis, thank you so much for that intro. That was dope.
No, man. Yeah, you're welcome. It's fun. It's fun to be here.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. We've got the Corbell drop that we're going to be going through today. We're going to be walking through it step by step. We've got Jazz Shaw with us today, who is, for those of you who don't know Jazz, I'm sure it's none of you. Jazz is going to be helping us decipher what the hell it is we watched today. Jazz, how are you?
I'm doing good. I was just sorry not watching the feed because I was trying to promote this show, which I will do. But yeah, I just got off a 1 hour thing with Bloomberg News and the New York Times and a bunch of stuff talking about all the things that have been going on. We'll go over that offline. It was kind of disappointing in certain ways, but yeah, everybody's really excited about the news that's going on. So there's a lot of discussion going on.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Jazz is ex-Navy, so he's actually going to help us understand the exact video that was dropped today, so that I'm a dummy, so I don't understand it at all. So Jazz is going to be helping break that down for us. I want to go ahead and welcome my lovely wife, Kristen Mataluni. He's going to be joining us today. Kristen, how are you?
We got a bit of an echo on Kristen.
We got an echo on Kristen.
Yeah, she's a little out of focus too.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no. Don't worry about it, Kristen. We'll fix you.
It's not Kristen's fault. It's Mike's fault.
It's definitely Mike's fault. Well, as Mike's figuring it out, I'll introduce the next man of the hour, which is our good friend Carl Vibe. And Carl's got a really killer channel on YouTube.
Thanks, man.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing awesome. This data drop today is super interesting and excited. I'm afraid it's going to go over most people's heads. They're just going to see it as like a video game screen, but I'm really grateful that Jazz is on the show today to be able to clear a lot of this up for us.
Yeah. No, I'm excited too, Jazz, because I feel like a lot of people were looking at this and going, what the hell is going on? I don't understand any of this because I'm not a radar expert. Like all of a ton of questions, I'm sure, rushed to a lot of people's heads. So I'm definitely glad you're here because you used to be a radar technician in the CIC, correct?
Yes, I was.
So that's going to be helpful. Kristen's still out of focus, Michael.
Is she?
I don't know.
Oh,
that's okay. We'll figure it out. This is the beauty of live. Yeah.
Even out of focus, Kristen. Still
there. You go.
Still beautiful.
Thank you. It's actually good. I got what were they? Sand mites. I got attacked by the sand mites while we were at the beach, so I'm like all.
Okay, so I mean, Michael, did you want to? Okay, you're back. Start the show.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. No.
Where should we go next? Because I saw the 5 observables on the show sheet, so I'm wondering if that's where we should start.
Yeah, well, I wanted to. So, for those of you who don't know what the 5 observables are, Lou Elizondo gives us during the ATIP program, he helped us to understand what we should be looking for when we're thinking about UAPs, and he gave us the 5 observables, and we're going to go through those. But before we do that, I want to go through the actual video that we saw from Corbell today, that Corbell dropped, and we're going to go through it step by step. We're going to walk through it with Jazz. Jazz is going to break it down for us as we go through. And then we'll kind of go back to the 5 observables and talk about what we saw and whether or not we think it's something that that we should really be investigating. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share.
Did you just tweet something so I can retweet it, by the way, just to get more people in here?
Yes, Luis, do you want to do that, or do you want me to do that?
I think
I've tweeted it this morning, but I can tweet again.
I can take care of it.
No, I just wanted to get a new one right now. So
yeah, no, for sure. I'll take care of it. I'll tag you guys in there.
I don't want to sound like a horrible publicity.
No, listen. Hey, we got look for just FYI.
Okay, I'm a horrible publicity whore. Okay, I'm trying to promote you guys.
Listen, we've got 55 people in here right now. We got a ton of people.
Yeah, well, we gotta max this out.
Okay, we're gonna max it out. I'm gonna retweet again right now so that Jazz does not tell me to go fuck myself.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna tell you to go fuck yourself. I absolutely am.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Fantastic. All right, so I'm retweeting right now. I'm going to add Jazz in here. We are live.
Let's get everybody in here we can, because I think today was a huge day for a couple of different reasons, none of which were covered with the Bloomberg event I just finished, which was pathetic. But I think we're going to, have a really good time, and we're going to talk about important things. So let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you just joining us, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Share this out. I just shared it again on Twitter, so make sure you tweet it out so we get as many folks in the room. And as Michelle said, we're almost at 500 subscribers. So if you're not one of those, make sure you are now. Folks in the chat are, so my mom is here, Marielle and Mataluni, and then April says, Michael's mom is here. I love her. So that's very, very sweet, April. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share the video content, and we're just going to take it one step at a time, and we're just going to break it down piece by piece. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Give me 1 second, you guys. Make sure we've got it. All right.
I just want to get all of our followers in here. And
And you guys tell me if I've got the right screen. May 27th, 2021. I'm going to go big.
Looks good.
That's it.
Okay. Here we go.
Okay, Jazz, focus up here. Help us out.
Wait, with that was I was like, is Jazz on the ship? What's going on?
I know, right? That's me.
Okay, ready? Here we go.
OD, if you can write a general lat long where we're at, and then the number of contacts you got, the course and speed meters off them. You know what I mean? And relative position to us, like bearings, might be helpful too. Eyes up. Eyes down.
maintain track as best you can.
Track 781 just sped up to 46 knots, 50 knots, closing in. Oh, actually 38 knots. Holy shit.
That one's pretty much perfectly 000 relative, right?
Yeah.
263 at 3 miles, 5 knots speed.
Okay, so should we go through it one more time, or do you want to kind of start breaking it down? Because that for the layman, that was virtually meaningless. But I know how important this is for us to start to look at the other video content that Jeremy Corbell released. So, Jazz, maybe you kind of give us some thoughts. What do you think we should be doing here? How should we be looking at this from a non-Navy perspective?
There's a lot to break down there. The video, for people looking at it, isn't really that meaningful. I'm imagining for anybody who wasn't in the military, that's a radar display. And you're hearing the audio, which is the far more important point, for what's going on in the background in Combat Information Center, CIC. I worked in CIC for years. The stuff you're seeing on the screen, it's dots. It's returns. There are radar systems that are scanning the sky all the time. Some of them scan the surface. Some of them scan looking upwards for aircraft. That information all goes into CIC, Combat Information Center. And what you're listening to when that conversation is going on, that's very non-typical for a normal night in CIC. Just so you know that.
Right.
Because I was on a series of aircraft carriers. I was the radar supervisor on our carrier. And I spent a lot of time up in CIC. I wasn't one of the radar operators because they're only responsible for looking at the returns, interpreting the information. I was the guy who had to actually repair the equipment, maintain the equipment, do periodic maintenance on the equipment, but I hung out with all the guys who operated it, but we knew more about it than they did. So yeah, what you're watching there is a somewhat remarkable event because that's not a typical night in CIC. That's not a typical evening when there's a few fishing boats and commercial ships going by, there's some planes that pass over within range of the air search radar. When that happens, none of those conversations are going on. That's just routine. You assign a data point to everything that comes into your space, and you track it because you don't want to crash into somebody. You know, you don't want an unknown plane being in the area. If everything's normal, CIC is very quiet. What you're listening to when you watch that video, that was a very unusual event.
Right. And yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Luis.
Well, first of all, Christopher Plain said, wait a second. Did Jazz just say that he used the predecessor to that radar? Yes, he did. So that's why we wanted him on the show, really, is because he's the best person to explain this kind of stuff. But Jazz, can you maybe lend a little bit of insight into what was blurred out on this video? Because we've got all of this data points on the side that are blurred out, and maybe we can give a little bit of context as to what might be there.
Right. These are far more advanced displays than we used during the Cold War when I was in. But even back then, there was data that was separate from the stuff you actually... For everybody that ever watched a movie where there was something on radar and it's totally bogus, where you're looking at a screen and there's a line that goes around and a dot shows up and it beeps, just so you know, they don't beep. It's it's just a screen and the line goes around, and that's the surface or air search radar. The modern ones like these show both surface and air, and they just go by and they paint. It's called painting. They paint a target that the radar hit and send a return back. The other stuff on the edge that is blurred, that is equivalent to when you see the UFO videos with the pilots, when they're using the HUD, the heads-up display. You can see the video of what you're looking at, but around the edge, the pilots see in the feed a lot of data that comes from equipment that we're not supposed to talk about with the public, so that gets blurred out. In this case, that stuff's being blurred out. You're really just seeing the radar displays from the surface search and the air search radar.
So Jazz, can you break it down for us? So what are we looking at right now? So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 objects moving across radar. Am I seeing that correctly?
Well, I don't have the exact number that we're looking at,
right?
But yeah, what you're looking at is a pair of air and surface search radars, and they are sending out signals. They're hitting some solid object that bounces back the amount of time it takes from when the transmitter sends out the pulse until the receiver returns it, determines how far away it is. And it is painting, and that's the phrase that we use, it's painting targets. So there's a group of targets, and every time the radars are painting, they're showing you how those targets are moving, where they are, and what they're doing.
Hey,
and
Mike,
that's what you're looking at.
Can you pause the video for a second and just move the mouse off of the video so we can get the whole thing?
Move the mouse of the video, like that?
So like the play display moves off of, you know what I'm saying?
No.
Yeah. Blow it back up and then move the cursor off and it should go away.
Oh, I got you. Here, I'll start it over and then do that.
Yeah, no, or just pause it.
Okay.
And then just move the mouse off to your second screen so the play button and the information on the top go away. So it's a little bit more visible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've done it. It's just not. It's not responding.
I don't know why it doesn't want to do it.
Okay, all right, no worries. Well, just leave it on pause. So Jazz, can you tell what is this outer circle versus the inner circle, and can that give us any sort of miles or range? I'm assuming. I'm a complete novice on radar, but I'm assuming the middle of this target is the ship, and then it's sweeping around. So I'm curious to know if you would know, what is that area? How many miles or how many, I don't know. How would they even measure it? I'm assuming miles, right?
I want everybody watching this to know that We didn't have anything like this when I was serving.
Right.
When I was serving, you were looking at a round screen, kind of like what you're seeing, and there was just the one line going around, and it would paint things. There's a lot more information being displayed here than we used to have.
Yeah.
It is, but I'm familiar with the tech because I keep in touch with the guys that are doing it now. There's a lot more stuff here.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you're looking at, the bright dot in the center is the ship.
Mm-hmm.
That's you.
Right.
If you're the observer, that's that. And then you're watching the beam going around.
Right.
Actually, it's 3 or 4 of them. You're watching things that are on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching things that are in the air. They're painting it. And that's the phrase we use. They're painting it.
So every blip on here every blip that we see on here is not a commercial plane or boat. These are the targets that they're specifically wanting to look at.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I probably portrayed that incorrectly.
No. This is just a follow-up question. You didn't portray anything incorrectly. I want clarification on what these smudges are, what these blips are on the radar.
When you're in CIC and you're watching this pair of displays, and this is 2 different displays. There's a surface search radar. In my day, it was the SPS-10. There's an upgraded version now. And an air search radar that constantly runs. And we're going to talk about later the distinction between that and instantaneous detections. You're just watching the returns that come back on the surface and in the air of anything that shows up. If the radar sends out a pulse, it bounces off something and comes back, then you are the dot in the center, and you have a detection radius of about 17 miles on the surface for any ships that are above the surface. You have a much larger range for anything in the air that's up higher up. And
so could this be, I'm sorry to interrupt, but so the smaller circle maybe is the surface and the larger circle is what they're maybe catching in the air?
We didn't have that in my day, so I don't know why they've set that delineation, but that's not a bad guess.
Okay.
But also, there's very different indicators being put up. Some of them look more oblong. Some of them have a different shape. You have a definite way of telling which ones are surface contacts and which ones are up in the air. And yeah, the outside circle, that's the air search, because you can see a lot further in the air than you can if there's another ship in the area. Like I said, 17 miles is about the maximum distance that you can paint ship, because after that it goes over the horizon and you can't paint it anymore. Ships that are airplanes or any craft, if you want to call them airplanes, that are up, 20, 30,000 feet, you can see them way farther out. So probably the stuff outside that band is stuff that is up well above the water. So that's the difference between air search and surface search.
So let me I just want to give a little bit of background too, because for those of you who are just joining us, I want to kind of share with you what exactly this is. So Jeremy Corbell released this video today, and the background that he gives is that the footage was filmed in the CIC. So if you're listening to Jazz, that's the Combat Information Center of the USS Omaha on July 15th, 2019, in a warning area off San Diego by visual intelligence personnel, the Viper team. This radar data release shows 4 clips, multiple unknown targets, and 1 civilian vessel. Some of the unknown targets drop off radar in this footage. This happened numerous times throughout the UFO encounter series. At the height of the contacts, there was at least 14 unknown observed at one time. The event series reached a crescendo with one of the unknown targets entering the water at 11 p.m. No wreckage was found. None of the unidentified aircraft were recovered. So if you were watching or if you are aware, there was a video released by Jeremy Corbell a couple weeks ago that actually showed video evidence of this event, of one of the objects actually landing in the ocean.
And that is related to this radar footage that he's now additionally released. This is the same incident.
This is the same incident, yes.
Well, I don't know if we know it's the same incident. We just know it's the same day.
Right.
It could have been a day's worth of incidences that were happening here, so we have to clarify that.
Right.
Fair.
I have
Fair.
a question for you, Jazz. When you say there's 3 scans going on here to get this circumference in the air and over the surface, is that triangulated all just off of the one ship, the Omaha, or is there an aerial platform or plane or satellite feed or submarine or something like that doing the triangulation of any kind, or is that all just off of the one ship?
I'm going to be careful on my answer on a lot of these questions because even after all these years, there's
just to the best of your knowledge.
Some things you can and can't talk about. What you're looking at is the Omaha's perspective. There are multiple other ships out there that all have these same capabilities. This was not a group, to my knowledge, that had a carrier attached to it. It was a battle group, but you're looking at the Omaha's perspective. There are ships, and actually, you're not looking at all UFOs. If you look at this, you will see other long oblong images on the surface search part that are in close. Those are the other U.S. Navy ships. You know, you're getting all that information, but nobody in CIC cares about the rest of our ships.
Let me ask you something, Jazz. This is interesting because Mick West immediately pointed out that the objects were over the ship, and he was saying this made it appear that they were not over the ship or near the ship, but that other oblong object on the to the northwest, that's another Navy ship. So, and you see 3 objects over there close to it. Is it possible that they were just looking at the a different ship than the ones that these objects were over?
The people operating the radar systems in CIC would know which objects, were surface vessels that were being picked up by the surface search radar, which only looks at the surface, and which ones were airborne objects. I believe they're melding together there, like they were passing over some of them, passing through them, whatever. But yeah, that's complicated, and we're not even getting into the classified stuff we can't talk about yet.
Right.
But you know, you're looking at a collection of objects that are being scanned by 2 unclassified radar systems and several other systems that we'll talk about, and just placing them all on a map. So for any of the laymen, for any of us to look at this, you can't, and I'm not trying to disparage Jeremy Corbell. If you are only given the freeze frame we're looking at right now, there's a lot of information there right now that's going to be puzzling to you, and we don't have a good answer for it.
Right. That's
Jazz, do you know what the lines are coming off of the pings?
that was
those dotted lines, or is that
that's new.
Anticipated trajectories of these objects?
That's new. I will confess, we didn't have that back in my day. If you looked at the screens that we were watching back in the Cold War, wow, you had way less information than this. I've tried to keep up with some of my friends. I know it's been advanced a lot. There's a lot more information. It didn't used to be combined. We used to have to actually sit in front of 3 different scanners and watch the surface search, the air search, meld them all together. When you bring in the fire control stuff, which is more classified, that's a whole nother set of scans. Today, they get to meld it all together and watch it at one time, which is great. It's more informative. But no, we didn't have this level of instantaneous data that you're seeing when I was in.
So, Michael, you had a question?
No, I just wanted to quickly reintroduce everybody who's just joining us and let them know what we're actually looking at here. So for those of you who don't know, this was an event that happened on July the 15th, 2019. This was the USS Omaha in off the coast of San Diego. And so Jazz is ex-Navy. He did radar while he was in the Navy, and he's kind of explaining what these different objects appear to be, what their relationship to the video that Jeremy Corbell released a couple weeks ago. And so we're just kind of diving into that. I do want to listen to it again to get the audio, because there's some interesting things that were said in the audio that I think are worth repeating. And for those of you just joining us, we're also going to be the second half of the show. We're going to be inviting Jeremy Reese, alien scientist, in to talk about some other information regarding UAPs. So go ahead,
Mike.
Louis.
Mike, while you're playing this, can I go in the back room, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Well, what I was going to say, I don't even know if we should replay it. We should read it, because we've got the transcript. The Corbell provided it. I think that might be a little more. It's a little clearer. You know what I mean?
How about I'll play it and then you read you have the transcript there?
And
I do.
And I do want to watch as we play it this time to see if those lines seem to track the anticipated trajectory of the objects, because it seems so random. Like they're crisscrossing, going different directions, and some are hovering. And I think that's an indicator that these aren't just normal flying airplanes.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's just that the only problem with that, Carl, is that it's speculation. Like
totally.
there's no way, even if we got the best look at it,
just
like,
a guess. Yeah,
it's just a guess. But I think that's a good one. I actually like that guess a lot, and wouldn't be shocked if you were right.
Because it looks like there's three going right over the top of that one, all in a formation. It's very interesting.
Also, Michael, I think it's important to let everyone who's in the stream. By the way, we've got 82 people in the stream. I think this is maybe your record right now, right?
I think so.
I think so, which is super, super exciting. So we're glad that you're all here. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share it more, because we're having the conversation about this radar footage. And so if you want to get the perspective or our perspectives on it and share your perspectives on it, because we'll be taking questions later on the show, please do it. Just real quick, just to go over everyone who's in the room, we got our host, Michael Mataluni of the Singularity Lab, his beautiful, wonderful wife, Kristen Mataluni. I've got myself, your co-host, Luis Jimenez, and Carl Vibe down at the bottom. And Jazz Shaw's in the room. He's just taking a little break, but we are getting his expertise on this. And what we're going to do is we're going to play the video, and we're going to go over the transcription of it. So basically, Michael, you're not going to have sound on it, right? I'm just going to read it.
I'm not going to have sound. You just go ahead and read it, and then, yeah.
Okay, so the first line that comes out of this video is OOD. If you can, write a general lat long of where we're at. And then a faint voice in the background says, we do have some X-band radar tracks. See, we should wait for Jazz.
Yeah, we need to do an X-band radar track.
Yeah, okay, here we go. All right, so Jazz. So we're reading the transcription of what's going on here. So if you want to stop us at any moment and sort of explain what's happening, that would be great. So the first line is, I don't know if this is an acronym, but it's OOD. Did they pronounce that OOD? What is OOD?
Oh, sorry. Hang on. I was just trying to push more people here.
I love Jazz. He's our marketing master.
Constant ringmaster.
No, I want everybody to support this channel. I want everybody to participate.
Jazz, we have the largest audience this channel's ever had now.
We can do a lot better. I just got off something with Ralph Blumenthal. We can do better.
I hear you, but we only got a half hour to talk about this, so we got to get through this.
All right.
So OOD.
What are we doing now?
OOD. What is OOD? Is that an acronym?
In context, it says OOD if you can write a general latitude, longitude of where we're at. So is that
it's officer of the deck.
Okay, officer of the deck. So the officer of the deck is asking, or is saying, somebody's saying to him, OOD, if you can write a general
Does
long lat.
Does everybody know what officer of the deck is?
No, please explain it.
When you're in CIC, the guy
which, by the way, Jazz worked in CIC. I just had to make sure we get that in there, Jazz. Sorry.
Okay. When you're in CIC, the guy that's in charge is the ops officer, the operations department officer. That late at night, it probably wasn't the ops officer when they started. He has deputies. Operations department is the department that controls all the twidgets, as we used to call them. It's all the electronics people. It's the radar people. It's the comms people. It's the weapons control people. They all live and work in CIC.
Got it.
Right in front of CIC is the bridge. That's where the ship is steered from. That's where the captain is during the day. It's where the officer of the deck, whoever is responsible for steering the ship and doing all that, when the captain isn't on the deck. The XO, the executive officer, is up there. They will, it's only 3 steps, they will occasionally come back into CIC if there is a critical situation going on. Now, I won't even say critical, something unusual. Everybody wants to be informed. The officer of the deck can come back. And if the officer of the deck walks back there and somebody says OOD, that's the officer of the deck.
So just to be clear here, Jazz, you're saying that this is in the middle of the night and it would be very unusual or take some sort of an incident that would require the officer on deck to be woke up and brought into this situation and informed because this is an abnormal situation.
Well, not entirely correct. The officer of the deck, during the day, the captain, most of the time, will be up on the bridge in front of CIC, where if I think Michael got a picture of the ship in question, they're the ones that are up there watching what's going on. They're giving orders to the helmsman, who is actually physically controlling, the helm, steering the ship. There are a couple other enlisted men who relay the orders for speed changes and things like that. They're all up on the bridge. The officer of the deck will be there when the captain or the XO is not up there. Did I already say XO? Executive officer. Those are the 2 top people. The officer of the deck, though, is the one who is in charge and who's doing these things and giving orders to make, course corrections and things like that. But they will sometimes come back and consult with the operations officer in CIC. And they're going to make decisions if something happens that's out of the ordinary. Because most of the day, for people who have never served on a ship, it's really boring up there. You're going and you're sailing on a predetermined route, and you're monitoring all of the ships that are in your area because you don't want to run into one. That's a bad thing. Happened to me twice, and you're monitoring all the planes. Most of them are commercial planes and your own fighters that you're putting off, things like that. That's what's normally going on. What we're listening to in this situation is when something goes off what's called the pod, the plan of the day. And from midnight 01 until the next midnight, there's a schedule for everything that's going to happen. And when you don't deviate from that schedule, it's a really boring thing to be up in CIC or on the bridge. And we're looking right now at a picture of one of the littoral ships. And you can see, if you look closely, there's only one level on the superstructure where there are windows. The windows at the front, at the fore end of the superstructure, that's where the bridge is. That's where the officer of the deck is. Behind that, there's some other windows. That's Combat Information Center. So this is really good context for what we're talking about.
Great. Real quick, Christopher Plain had a question. If you can, just roughly, how many people are stationed in the CIC on a ship like this?
Oh, God, it varies. The destroyer I was on, there was like 5.
Okay.
All the carriers that I was on, it was 25 to 30.
Okay. So let's keep going with this transcription. Yes, Michael?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So after the officer on deck, if you can write a general long lat of where we're at. So that's the first line. And then we've got a faint voice in the background saying, do we have some X-band radar tracks? And he says, yes, sir. And then it says, and then the number of contacts you've got. Get the course and the speed meters off them. Copy. You know what I mean? So what do you got, Jazz? Anything out of that sticks out to you?
Yeah, well, that's the information that's normally not even mentioned because you're doing that with every target. You're looking at everything that's on the surface, everything that's in the air. And like I said before, I hate to sound like a broken record and be really boring. 99 point whatever 999% of the time, everybody in CIC is monitoring that data. You're looking at course, you're looking at distance, you're following tracks, you're looking at everything else on the surface of the water, everything else that's in the air. That's data that is routinely and non-excitedly passed back and forth. Oh, we have a new target, sir. You know,
It's like a fishing boat or a commercial airliner passing through.
002, distance 12.7 nautical miles, whatever. And they're just tracking it. Everything gets assigned a number. You track it as it goes through. Nothing about that is unusual.
Yeah. Okay. But the way they're talking in these first few lines of dialogue is not normal.
Right.
Correct. So just to be clear, so they wouldn't be having these conversations unless these targets were interesting.
Or scary or confusing or yeah.
Well, the interesting part comes up. Even after all these years, I have to pause and consider how many things you can still say because I signed the same things everybody else signed. Mm-hmm. Some of it, it's mostly general knowledge. When you pick up a new target in CIC, whether it's a surface target or an air target, mm-hmm. almost everything that's out there, you have to understand, is completely understandable with our technology almost immediately. There are two systems, IFF and TACAN, that interrogate everything in the area. IFF stands for Identification Friend or Foe. TACAN is Tactical Air Navigation. Except for the smallest planes that are like, a couple passenger planes or fishing boats, almost everything out there has what's called a transponder. Mm-hmm. And the military vehicles, the military ships, the military planes, they interrogate those transponders. And we're not going to waste the whole show talking about the technology about what a transponder is. But it has an ID. Right. And if I'm on a ship or I'm in a plane and you're in one of those other vehicles and my transponder pings, or my system pings your transponder, it sends back a response and says, yes, I'm American Airlines Flight 727. Right. Heading from San Diego to Honolulu. I'm this oil tanker. You get an immediate answer. Nobody in CIC freaks out. Right. It's just, okay, we know you. And it puts a marker on that screen you're seeing. Yeah. The only time it gets weird is when we get what's known in the military as a bogey, something that doesn't have a transponder. It could be a plane whose transponder just broke in the last 5 minutes. That happens, sure, it's tech.
Pirated ship that cut off their transponder.
Something like that. Yeah.
Or maybe they just don't have it turned on.
But when you start getting those, they're identified as bogeys. And when you identify bogeys, everything in CIC changes.
So are these all identified as bogeys here? Do we know from the conversations that we're having? Can we conclude that?
It's not, the word bogey does not come up.
The word bogey doesn't come up, but they're clearly calling for range and distance on objects they have not identified.
Right. So meaning that they don't have transponder data?
Take your choice. It means they don't have a transponder. It means their transponder is broken. It could mean, it's something unidentified that isn't locked into that system. Mm-hmm. But people need to realize when we run into Russian ships, Chinese ships, people that are adversaries of ours, they have transponders too.
Yeah, they still identify themselves,
we can identify them. When you get a bogey, an actual bogey in CIC, that's something that hasn't responded or responded incorrectly. And that's a bogey. These are bogeys.
Got it. Okay, well, let's get into what else is said, because I think you're that it'll be helpful based on what you just said. So after he says copy, the next guy in the room says, you know what I mean? In relative position to us and bearings might be helpful too. And then someone says, eyes up, eyes down, intercom, CSM TAO, maintain track as best you can. Track 781 just sped up to 46 knots, 50 knots closing in. 138 knots. Holy shit. They're going fast. Oh, it's turning around. That one's
around.
It's turning around. So that one's pretty much perfectly 0, 0, 0 relative, right? Yeah. 263 at 3 miles, 55 knots speed. Officer on deck, combat systems manager, and the TAO is the tactical action officer. So this is this is the over the intercom, the CSM, which is the combat system manager, and the tactical action officer are saying maintain track as best you can. Can you sort of add some perspective as to what's going on there, Jazz?
That's wild.
Yeah, it blows my mind also really quick just to keep in mind that if these are drones or something like that, the fact that they also don't have transponders and are being picked up as solid objects. They've been described by the witnesses and the people tracking these as self-illuminated objects and also transmedium objects where they're going in and out of the water and trying to track them with sonar with submarines and look for debris, and they found nothing. So all of that information, when you keep that in mind, makes this more relevant. So
in this case, there was no indication of transmedium because I didn't hear anything in the audio that they did go on and off track. But nothing confirmed they went in and out of the water.
I'm just referencing Jeremy Corbell's interview on Mystery Wire that he had just like a couple of hours ago where he mentioned that. Yeah.
Well, he had also mentioned
I didn't hear that in the video, is all I'm saying.
Sure.
No, for sure. No, Jeremy Corbell did also mention that this, if I'm not mistaken, Carl, maybe you can help me with this, but because I only watched it once, but from my understanding was this radar also has the ability to tell when they go up or down in this radar system. So if they're going beneath, if they're going down into the surface radar, they know, okay, something's underwater. And if they pop back up into the air radar, then they're like, okay, now we know these things are coming up and down. But I don't know, because I'm not a radar technician, if what we're looking at is
showing that data.
Is showing that data.
Right.
So that's the only.
You have to reflect back on the other footage of the imaging of the thing where they're saying splash, splash, where they see the target going.
Let's take a second and look at so let's look at the other video that's associated with this event, or at least from the same day from the USS Omaha.
Here's the thing. I think it is the same event, Michael, because of two reasons. The first is the amount of objects. Both are the same in each story. It's 14 objects that Corbell reported.
Yep.
Right.
The second thing is that the officer on deck correct me if I'm wrong, Jazz, but it seems like the officer on deck is the guy calling the shots right now, yes?
I can't do a video analysis of the voice between the two of them.
Yeah.
But when I listened to it, I thought the initial one was a slightly younger sounding voice.
Yeah.
My interpretation, and this is just a guess, let's all be clear.
Yeah.
I think when the event began, and it was late in the evening from my experience in CIC,
right,
it was a deputy that was the deputy ops officer. When they realized that some weird frigging shit was going on, the ops officer got woke up.
Right.
Got brought up, and that's probably who we're hearing here.
Yeah. It is. The first line of dialogue is the officer on deck, and he says, "If you could write
he's different." Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I mean, if it's the officer on deck telling people to give me a long and Latin longitude, then it sounds to me like he's the guy sort of running things at this moment, which tells me.
Luis, I thought it's saying in quotes, OOD, if you can write a general latitude, longitude of where we're at. So he's speaking to the OOD.
Almost like somebody. Okay. So it's almost like somebody in charge of the OOD telling the OOD.
No, that would be the ops officer.
Oh,
because
okay.
The ops officer runs CIC.
The
ops officer can be overridden by the OOD or the XO or the CO, but usually it's the ops officer that is issuing those orders.
Right.
And it's not an order when he's talking to the officer of the deck.
Right.
It's just, I'm
he's
passing
asking
information back and forth.
Right. He's
Right.
asking
You know.
him. He's asking the OOD for the latitude and longitude.
Yeah, and
Got
he's going to get that because he's collecting that information collectively from the people in CIC, and also the OD is talking to the people up topside, the actual signalmen and the watchmen who are out there watching things physically.
Yeah.
That's what they do on the on the deck. They're collecting all this information.
If
That's
you're-
where it's centralized.
If you're allowed to say, Jazz, like in normal operations, do they schedule the coordinates that they're going to, like they do on not important ships or
Like a cruise ship or something.
yeah, like a cruise ship? Because
Right.
that's what
Unless you're
I
in
was
the
on-
middle of battle.
Kristen was an officer on a cruise ship, actually.
There you
But
go.
You'll crack up. I was the floral officer. So.
Hey, floral officers, very important. Yeah, that ties back into what Luis asked earlier. A typical day on board a ship in a carrier group, a battle group, is pretty boring.
Mhm.
Everything is scheduled way in advance.
Yeah.
And if everything goes according to the plan of the day, then your day is pretty well
Boring.
scheduled all the way.
Right.
I'm
Well-
not saying it's always boring, but you know what's going on.
Right.
What you're
Well, the-
watching in these videos,
Mhm.
that's when the plan of the day has been disrupted. And now suddenly the officers in charge are scrambling and they are saying, okay, a new condition has evolved
Right.
and now we have to deal with it. That's what you're listening to.
Well, the
And-
reason why I was
okay.
asking was because I wanted to try and establish that this is the same event. So if it's the same person that was on deck or in the CIC when this first video dropped from Corbell a couple of weeks ago, and it's the same person on deck now, now we know, okay, well, this is probably the same event because it's got the same number of objects. It's got,
Right.
we're talking about transmedium thing. And also the people who are there are usually only there during a certain times of the day. They're usually at night, like you're saying. So if they're both taking place at night, then that tells me it's a very high probability that this is the same event. So now we're getting, that's the speculation. We can't confirm that, but at least it seems like we're getting a really much nicer picture of this whole night, which is cool.
Yeah, I was the night shift petty officer for the radar department on my carrier, and I slept during the day. And at night, if I wasn't doing active repairs or maintenance on one of the pieces of radar equipment, the repeaters, I'd be hanging out up in CIC. And it was a small crew. Everybody knew each other.
Hmm.
But yeah, the captain wasn't up there. The XO wasn't up there. The ops officer wasn't up there. These were the people who were junior. I was a second class petty officer. I wasn't one of the top guys, and those are the people that were up there expecting just for the night to go by quietly and follow the plan of the day. When something goes kind of wonky, the first thing you do is you wake up the people that are above you. I would wake up the head of the radar division. The ops officer would be woken up. The captain would be woken up. That's what would happen. When what you're watching on this video was going on, I would give it 30 minutes tops before people like me were standing off in the background and all the top people were there because something has gone amiss. It might be nothing important, but God, you don't want to be the person in charge.
Right.
If the friggin' shit just goes down, and it's like, I couldn't be bothered to go to bed. So you get your ass out of bed and you get up there.
So
by the time this was happening, the top people were up there. I don't know that, but I guarantee you, high probability.
yeah, high probability that the top was there. This was something that disturbed them. They immediately moved to action. The plan of the day had gone to shit, and they needed to take extraordinary measures. Let me ask you this, Jazz. Okay, so according to Lou Elizondo, the ATIP program focused on 5 observables when it came to understanding or came to bucketing or segmenting what would be considered a UAP or a UFO. Those 5 observables are instantaneous acceleration, hypersonic velocity, low observability, positive lift, and multi-medium travel. From your perspective, having viewed both this video, this radar information, as well as the the video that we saw from the USS Omaha a couple weeks ago that was released by Jeremy Corbell, do any of these objects, in your opinion, do they exemplify any of the 5 observables?
None.
No. Okay.
Not one.
That's important.
That's very important.
You know, like that's and that's coming from Jazz Shaw. Even with the audio that you're saying, oh, they're going fast. Oh, it's turning around. Like that's compelling. But yeah, I mean, they're going.
It was fast, Luis. I mean, you know, if we know what the sea conditions were, the wind speeds were sustained at 30 knots, gusting over 40. You know, flying anything, particularly a drone, if it had any like propellers, would be really tough in those conditions. But no, that's something that we have the technology to do entirely. You know, there's nothing going on here that breaks the 5 observables. No. The one thing is the transmedium. The previous video from Jeremy where the globe drops down and goes underwater, that could be transmedium. But we don't know because a ball can fall into the water. Right. We don't have that proof. And we have transmedium vehicles. We have ballistic missiles that are fired from submarines. The average hovering depth, and this is not classified, for our boomers is about 60 feet below the water. They can blow a missile from 60 feet down, flow it through the water, up into the air, and with enough fuel, it can actually break into low Earth orbit. We have transmedium vehicles, but not like the ones that are being described with the UAP.
Yeah. Right.
That's our one example, but it's not like there isn't transmedium travel. I mean, it's been done.
Yeah. Mike, so we got 7 minutes left on this topic. So I also have some details of this video that Jeremy Corbell put out that I think are important. We should probably go over.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the details of this video, the first is there's minimum of 14 targets, and that's an estimate. The targets are a minimum of 6 feet in diameter, and they're a solid mass. Again, an estimate. Varying speeds from 40 knots to 138 knots, which is roughly 46 miles per hour to 158 miles per hour. Flight lasting longer than an hour. Okay.
And this is 110 miles off the coast, California coast of Los Angeles.
Correct. But still, I mean, I don't
46,
know.
Wait, so it's 46 to 158 miles per hour? Is that what they're saying?
Correct, yeah. That's what these things are varying in speed. The unknowns were self-illuminated. Neither origin nor launch or landing points were able to be determined. Unknown vehicles picked up more than 2 types of radar. Still images of this footage were included in the May 1st, 2020 UAPTF intelligence briefing that I have previously reported on. It is noted in intelligence reports that the spherical craft appeared to be transmedium capable and were observed descending into the water without destruction. And I think that has also been has that been confirmed by the DoD? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but
no.
But it seems like that's like a submarine was definitely launched to look to try and find it.
That was confirmed.
Yeah, that was confirmed. So that is correct. So that statement is 100% correct.
Well, I wouldn't say that statement is 100% correct because it says, and were observed descending into the water without destruction. We don't know that there was no destruction. All we know is we couldn't find the remnants of a destruction.
Yeah,
Michael's correct. The part I meant was confirmed was there was a submarine in the task force.
Yes,
and it was deployed.
Yes, yeah, it was in the naval fleet. So it is noted in intelligence reports that the spherical craft could not be found upon entry to the water. That a submarine was used in the search and recovered nothing. This footage is unclassified, and the craft remain unidentified officially. And we could definitely back up that last statement because our friend of the show, Alex Sears, got a statement from Susan Goff. And Michael, if you have that statement in front of you?
I do. Keep going, and I'll find it.
Sorry, go for it, Carl. Go for it.
I was just going to say, Jazz, what is the relevance of them saying eyes up and eyes down?
Yeah,
and
that was
maybe how that
question.
correlates with the edits of the video, where it seems to be like they say eyes down or eyes up, and then the camera seems to cut, and there's an edit and
Eyes up
how
and eyes
that
down,
correlates.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that has evolved and has been around since I was in the military. It doesn't mean what I'm seeing a lot of people on Twitter saying. It dates back to, just to give you the origin, submarines, when they put up a periscope, it's like up periscope, down periscope. Now I'm watching, now I'm not watching. In CIC, there have been various versions of this. We're back to the things you can talk about and things you can't. The surface search and the air search radars, they're turned on all the time. They're always running. They're
Like
always just
the baseline
watching.
equipment are constantly going.
They're constantly going.
Okay.
There are other systems, and we can safely say without violating anything, fire control systems, IFF systems, TACAN system. Well, TACAN runs all the time. Those other systems, when you catch on the constant maintenance things a target, there are systems that are brought up only briefly and only under order to try to paint a target in case you need to do something with that information. And you will say up and down. And those are the commands to bring the system up, do a paint, collect the data, and then shut off. You don't want them running all the time because, principally, you don't want adversaries catching everything you're putting out when you're running these systems, because it's your more secure fire control systems and other ones that we don't even need to talk about. So that was one of my reasons I thought the clips had been segmented.
Right.
Because when you hear that command, the operations officer, who is, except for the three people above him, are the only ones that can give that order.
Right.
And they're going to bring up that system and they're going to go give me, basically what that means is there's something out there that we're not sure about. I'm not saying we're going to attack it, but we need more information. Give me a paint on that.
So
And they will say eyes up and
there you go.
then eyes down, because it's a quick thing, because you don't run it all the time. That's what was going on there.
So if you had a target supposedly that was unidentified or a swarm of them, and one of them started moving from 50 knots to 138 knots at a bearing of 000, which is right off your nose coming straight at you, you might hear the order eyes up to speculatively to bring up weapon systems in case you need to defend yourself.
The weapon systems commands don't come from CIC. You would hear eyes up to go gather the data to send it to the fire control system, but the command to actually lock weapons would come from higher up than the ops officer.
Gotcha.
I got one last question before we.
And I need to. I need to mention something as well.
Yeah.
So if you're looking right here, this was reported by Alex Sears, and we're going to be bringing in alien scientists here in just 1 second, you guys. So hang tight with us. He is in the house, he is backstage in the green room,
in the
ready
building.
to join us. But before we do that, I just wanted to finish this up real quick. So, and then Luis, we'll let you ask your last question.
Yeah.
When asked to comment on the video, Pentagon spokesperson Susan Goff said, "We're looking into it." This was earlier today from the Daily Caller, written by Alex Sears. And then I've got a source that just told me, 1 second here, and I'll read this off to you guys. If you're referring to the one that Jeremy Corbell posted today, this is another request from Susan Goff today that just came back at 6:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I can confirm that the video was taken by Navy personnel and that the UAPTF included it in their ongoing examinations. I have no further information for you. And then Gadi Schwartz also just tweeted that he had additional confirmation from Susan Goff that this is in fact from Navy personnel and the UAPTF is looking into it.
I didn't even bother asking her this time. That's what she's told me the last 3 times.
Yeah.
And John Greenwald had already pinged her on that. We all knew that answer was coming. She was going to confirm it, and she was going to say nothing else. And that's what Susan always says.
Right.
So last question on this, Jazz, and this is, I'm sure, speculation on your part, but I figured, ask what your best guess is. Do you think they were triangulating these objects at the same time, maybe with a satellite system?
No idea. We don't have any data on that. And again, remember, my experience comes from the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
We had 5 satellites then, basically. So when I was working in CIC, we had no satellite data. So I apologize. I have
no need to apologize. I've just figured I'd get your best guess. Do you think that's a technology that would be useful in a situation
I'm sure they've
like
tied
that?
it in. Yeah. I certainly think it's possible, but I don't want to come off as saying, that's something they definitely did. I'm sorry, my time was long ago. I was in the Cold War.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's at least safe to assume that even on the one radar screen, we see another identified ship that's part of the fleet or part of the battle group that probably has recorded data as well. And at the end of the interview on Mystery Wire, Jeremy Corbell did mention that they were going to pause for a moment and then release more data and more footage related to the same incident. So we'll see what's going to come from that.
Boy, oh boy.
Probably, and I would say, everybody's talking about the jump cuts in that video.
Yeah.
There's a shitload of stuff, pardon my language, that goes on in CIC that, under the best of conditions, you could never release to the public.
Yeah.
Just because, not because we're worried about aliens, because there's stuff that we don't want the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians to hear.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in there that may have nothing to do with potential UAP or anything.
Yeah.
But you don't just go give that stuff away out of the shop. So don't everybody freak out. I think there's something really remarkable going on, and we're observing evidence of something that I find really remarkable.
And
But
Jeremy,
don't try to break it down too far.
Jeremy did say that what he released today was just a segment of 2 hours worth of footage that they had.
Right.
I thought he said an hour.
Oh, maybe it was an hour.
It lasted a while.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Well, he also says in the first sentence of this, he says that this radar data release shows 4 clips. So it's 4 clips. So just be aware of that.
He was honest about that.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously he has to be because the edits are clear. But I think, Michael, what do you think?
We got to wrap it up. But I want to obviously extend the offer to the both of you to hang out with us, to not leave it. But I know that Jazz's wife may need him to go. But if not, Jazz, you are more than welcome to stay. We're going to introduce alien scientists.
I'm already on the verge of divorce. I have to go.
Yeah, he's hit his hour. His hour limit.
Hit his hour. Jazz, thank you so much.
I did an hour with Bloomberg before this.
Yeah.
My wife came home from work. She has sent 5 words to me since then. I have to go.
All right. Well, send her our love.
This, and I thank all of you. And I did want to discuss it because it's one of my areas of expertise. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. And we'll see you guys all in the next episode.
Hey, by the way, Jazz, we're like 1 away from 100 people in the chat, so you did it.
And Jazz, super informative, by the way. How excellent was it having Jazz on the show to clarify all this radar data?
I promise you, there's no other show right now on the internet that broke this as well as I think we did,
and as quickly,
as quickly. It was quick, it was real quick, and I mean, we appreciate and love Jazz Shaw here. That's why he's here. And George is in the chat, by the way. She says, "I wave in your general direction and not with my middle finger."
Oh, trust me, it'll be a middle finger by the time I get up to the living room. Yes.
He's looking at it. He is not on the verge of divorce. It's fine. All right, Jazz. We'll see you later, friend. We love you.
Thanks, love you, Jazz. Thanks, brother. Bye. All right. Oh man,
reset the room, Michael. Reset the room.
First of all, I gotta say, just the fact that Jazz's wife popped into the chat and said he's fine, he can stay, makes me now I know it was really just about a martini. Had nothing to do with the wife.
That guy works his tail off.
I know.
He's all there. He's writing. He's doing his thing. The hour is about. It don't matter what's going. I mean, the only time I've ever seen him stay longer than the hour was the last Jeremy Corbell drop with the video. He was really excited that day.
Yeah.
So he was on that day. He's like, "Damn everything, I'm staying." But yeah. So that was Jazz Shaw.
No, what a pleasure. So for those of you just joining us, we just completed going through, and so if you're joining us now and you didn't get a chance to watch that, make sure you go back and watch it later. But for right now, you've got to stick around. You got to stay here with us live because we've got Jeremy Reese, the alien scientist. This man is, you want to talk about somebody who knows what the F they're talking about when it comes to fringe science, when it comes to antimatter, when it comes to anti-gravity. This dude is, he's got some amazing I think he's pretty much stayed up for like 24 hours a day for the past, 5-10 years studying this stuff. Alien scientist. How the hell are you?
Yeah. I took breaks. You take breaks here and there. You have to for your own mental sanity. But
well, dude, thanks for being here. I was gonna say, real quick, just a couple of reminders for everyone who's watching live. All 94 of you. Thank you for being here. Like, subscribe. Share the channel. We're having an insanely great conversation. We broke down all of the radar footage for Jeremy Corbell in the last hour, and now we're doing the second last hour, or our last hour with alien scientist, Mr. Jeremy Reese. And also just, hey, check out our links below. It's got our Patreons in there, ways to support the shows. And also don't forget, tomorrow, 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, we are going live on my channel with Lou Elizondo. You're not going to want to miss this. The questions that we have lined up for him, I think, are pretty sharp. They cut straight to the bone, and it's going to be a fun day. So we're also going to be taking questions from you guys as well. So wanted to remind you of that. And then, of course, we got Christina Gomez in the house, and she's saying, hit that like button and subscribe. Michael's almost to 500 subscribers, so let's get the Singularity Lab over 500 tonight if we can. And with that said, let's get into this second hour.
Well, yeah, I'm really excited.
By the way, what are you drinking today?
I got a beer right here.
It's not an Arizona iced tea?
Mine's an Arizona iced tea.
My first one, I just cracked
sparkling water.
Peach iced tea. Sparkling water. All right, good.
Hey, a lot going on. That was great. Jazz did a great job of breaking that all down. It's been a lot of information, and he did a great job of just breaking down all the military terminology and giving me some kind of sense of what the military uses and is using to track these things. And I know that they have to have more, jumping off the last point that he said, they have to have satellites, that are tracking, everything that's coming in and out of this atmosphere. I mean, come on, why not?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It's a whole battle group, It's not like there's just one, the Omaha. There's a lot going on that we don't know. Yeah.
Well, can I ask Jeremy the first question of the night, if I can?
Yeah, go right ahead.
How did you feel about this drop of information today when you consumed it? Because I know you have strong feelings about the person who dropped it.
I was actually worried.
I want to just.
I actually haven't seen any of it because he has me blocked and I can't see anything he posts.
Yes, you can. You can go to Extraordinary Beliefs. You can go to his website and check it out.
What dropped?
And we play. All right, now you're just playing stupid. No, come on, seriously. Like, was it fun data for you to look at? Was it exciting, or were you?
I've been working all day. I'm serious, man.
Yeah. So you didn't see or you said you watched Jazz during that whole thing.
He was here for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. I was here for like 5.
Okay. All right.
10 minutes, but he was breaking down all this terminology and stuff. Yeah. It was good. It was a good review.
I was trying to get you to say something nice. That's all.
I don't know, man. I just don't know. I just see Mick West beating him up, and I'm thinking this is like I look at intelligence techniques and tactics, and I look at it from a propaganda and strategy kind of back behind the scenes standpoint, because I've been in this a long time, and I kind of just try to recognize these games if I see them. So I look at it like. They're bringing out all this content, these videos. I'm just not super convinced by them. The scientific community is not like paying attention to these videos. They don't care about this. They're not considering that as like proof or evidence of extraterrestrial or anything.
No, but
like
it is changing the conversation, though, right?
It's opening so many more people up to it. Like, when people ask me, like, I start talking to more about, my interest in UFOs to more people that I would never like, or before I have a new customer and like. I was, he's saying, oh, what, something. He was asking about like what else I'm into, and like, what do you do in your spare time? And I was, want to know for real. And I told him, and he was like, oh, that's cool. I know a friend of mine of 20 years that's into UFOs, and more. I think more people are opening up to it, and it's definitely breaking the conversation and the stigma down, which is hopefully it's going to go away, man. It's really hard to crack these guys. These guys are hard nuts to crack.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I could tell you, looking at it from an outsider's perspective, it seems like part of the mission for these information drops is that they're trying, the military, the Department of Defense specifically, is trying their asses off to destigmatize this topic as much as they can, because they've got a drone issue in this country. It's a big problem, and they need their pilots and personnel, but they need their pilots and personnel to report these things. And if they're seeing videos on 60 Minutes, if they're seeing pilots that coming out, if they're changing protocol on how to report these things, I feel like this is, and of course, everyone who talks about this on a mainstream news perspective, this is, they're talking about this also with the idea of, hey, this could be drones, this could be a foreign technology, but the goal is to kill this stigma and kill the taboo, because they need the intelligence. Is that fair?
Also, yeah, I understand. Yeah, definitely, and I agree with that, because you have these higher ups and these people that not everyone knows what's going on in the military, because everything's so compartmentalized with the intelligence sphere. And right now, what's happening is all these. I think it's happened a lot through the work that we've done in Disclosure, UFO people who research UFOs and all the stuff that we've dug up, and literally forced the intelligence community to look at, because we've connected pieces that they haven't connected, and now that they're starting to realize that they need to take these technologies seriously, because we're not the only ones. They've kept this. I really think that we've had a lot of these technologies for a long time, and they've been kept secret. They're trying to roll this out slowly, but it's obviously the technologies aren't going to come straight out, and that's not going to. I understand why that stuff's not in the mainstream media, even though I fight to get it out there every day and rave against the stuff that is in the mainstream media. But it's. I think that that to break the stigma down, I just worry. I mentioned to you, I worry before, like that they're just trying to burn this up in the news cycle, and then no one will care about it in 6 months. And I worry about that, because this is our chance. I'm getting more views on my streams. I'm getting more new traffic to my website and stuff than ever before. And especially when I start talking about these topics that are out there in the mainstream, because people are hungry for information. They want to know, and they know that the media and the military and everyone that's talking out there isn't being either not being fully honest, or they don't even have the full picture. So they don't have the full picture. And that's the biggest thing, right? And that's really what I wanted to have you on here tonight. And I want you to come back as a regular panelist, because what I think you're doing is so important and so valuable, because you're right. If we allow this thing to just slip by, and the mainstream media burns it up, and they get the ratings that they want, and they report on it in a very mediocre way, because that's exactly what's happening right now. But we always say to the community, hey, listen, you need to break it down and make it digestible to people who don't understand it and who aren't willing to spend 10 years of their lives focusing and looking deeply into this subject. And I think that, and I know I'm making you giggle right now, but I want you to know how much I respect you for doing that, because it's incredibly valuable. But I want to share this with you real quick. And this is something that came out of, this was from an FOIA report. The 38 papers.
Yeah. And so do you know what you're referencing here?
The 38, and George Knapp brought this out, I believe, with the 38 intelligence papers that were the DIA's documents.
Yeah. So just so everybody's clear, I'm gonna read this quickly. I'm just gonna read the most important part real quick. So this was a Freedom of Information Act request about ATIP and about the papers that were being written for ATIP to give awareness to what ATIP was actually doing. Real quick, I'm just going to go through what the 38 papers are here.
While you're looking for that real quick, Tim F. had a really funny comment. He says, Luis, hopefully it doesn't offend you, but you totally remind me of a Latino Jack Black. You want to know something? Go in my library, and there's an entire video I literally sneak in Jack Black quotes the entire show. So I don't know what episode that is, but no offense taken here. You're absolutely right.
Are there any like Nacho Libre wrestling videos? That's all I want to know.
Oh, of me? No. But we definitely have a ton of Nacho Libre quotes in the show.
If we get a $500 super chat, will you do one?
Wear a luchador mask?
Possibly. I don't know. That might be too much access.
So ATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which was led by Lou Elizondo. These were the papers that were written during that time period. So inertial electrostatic confinement fusion, advanced nuclear propulsion for manned deep space missions, pulsed high power microwave technology, space access, advanced space propulsion based on vacuum, biosensors and biomems, invisibility cloaking, traversable wormholes, stargates and negative energy, high frequency gravitational wave communications, role of superconductors in gravity research, anti-gravity for aerospace applications, field effects on biological tissues, positron aerospace propulsion. I'm not going to go through them all, but this is what the government is researching and focused on, but they would not want any of us to be aware of it. Yes, Kristen.
So is the government actually using words that Hollywood invented?
No, these are actual scientific papers. They're published in peer-reviewed journals, many of them. Some of them are just technical reports, like the Eric Davis stuff that's on there. I sent you another link in the private chat to more unclassified Department of Intelligence reference documents on the Acquisition Threat Support Program.
Jeremy, what are the most
Let me know if you want me to pull these up. Let me know what page you want me to go to.
Pull that one up and just scroll through that one.
Okay.
I got it right here. If you
got
want.
it?
Yeah, just give me a second.
Yeah, so those 38 papers are like, bro, we have a database that dwarfs that. Those like 38 papers, we have like tens of thousands of papers and books and literature. We have a database that like dwarfs this stuff, man.
Yeah.
Can you really zoom in on that?
The amount of information that's out there is like it's going to take the average person like years to get through to get up to speed with everything that the government. This is like when they talk about the government's like 20 to like 30 years advanced or 40 years advanced to what the public knows about in the public sphere. This is the kind of stuff that they're talking about. And it's amazing that, I was talking about after these FOIAs came out and I started diving into all these documents and stuff, especially the Eric Davis stuff. In the end of his documents where he talks about squeeze states. This is a Stephen. You had the Stephen Aftergood FOIA. This one's the Anthony Bragalia FOIA that you're showing now. Okay. And this is that one that made the headlines about the Pentagon releasing UFO debris or admitting that it has UFO debris because basically Bigelow was setting up a spot to analyze UFO debris. He was ready to receive it. He was convinced that the government had it and he was going to get the contracts for it. If you build it, they will come. Right. And he was all positioned to do that. And then it all got shut down. And now he declared bankruptcy and laid off all his employees last March. And now
Bigelow did?
Yeah, you didn't know about that during COVID?
No. That doesn't surprise me though. A lot of corporations just fired everybody and closed
He was going through a lawsuit with NASA because they didn't pay him for some of the research that he had done, and that kind of ruined his ruined his ties with the government when he did that too, and they
I just got to say real quick, this is the best compliment ever from Chris Spaghetti. He says, "I'm staying here. I'll watch the disinformation later."
Well, this is real science stuff. So they don't talk about this stuff on the mainstream TV, but I'm trying to reach out to more people in the physics community and introduce them to this kind of stuff. And it's awesome when you see PBS Spacetime doing all these episodes on quantum gravity, warp drives. They did a thing on the idea of the Planck relics of everything, of like atoms or black holes. They did a thing on the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and how to like push it to the max with these squeeze states, which are in those a lot of these defense intelligence studies that were done on warp drive that you'll find that the DIA funded studies into warp drives, and I'll send you that one too. Do you want to show that one off?
Yeah, no, we can show that up. But real quick before we move to that one, can you tell? I mean, here's a sort of what's included in here, and a couple of things that I found very interesting: metallic glasses, status and prospects for aerospace applications, biomaterials, materials for advanced aerospace platforms, metallic spintronics, and metamaterials for aerospace applications. So can you tell me, out of this report, Jeremy, what's the most fascinating part to you that you can sort of highlight and maybe convince some people, hey, go read this?
Okay. Well, we'll hit it. We'll hit it one at a time. Ready? So
Yeah.
number one, metallic glasses.
Yeah.
There was a material that was recovered at Roswell. It was reported by the Air Force intelligence officer at the Roswell Army Airfield, Major Jesse Marcel Sr., and was also later talked about by many other people who came into contact with the debris and were debriefed on the programs. And they described a metallic foil that you could fold or bend, and it would bounce back into shape without losing its deformation. It was just a metallic foil that could undergo like incredible plastic deformation, and it was very difficult to cut or burn or even, you know, they said that when they tried to cut it with carbide bit drills, that the drills would just heat up and it would burn out the tips of the bit, and they would burn out the bit and they wouldn't be able to cut through it.
Was that said in this report, or is that something you're pulling from something else?
I've pulled up over the years of, like, you know, like this is stuff that Don Schmidt and other researchers like Kevin Randall have gone and interviewed like countless people who've been connected to the events of Roswell or had family members who were debriefed on it or whatever. Yeah. And they all talk about this metallic glass and this material. And the only thing I found in my research that even comes close to resembling it is metallic glass. And there's videos of metallic glass online which kind of show this material, and the guy bends it and then it bounces back into shape. It can, and it's one of the strongest materials that we theoretically know of, according to our material scientists. And
this is something that's currently being developed by the government. When you say you've seen people utilize these properties or these elements, is that something that you're seeing in videos or you're hearing about or being debriefed?
Well, let's distinguish between the UFO literature stuff, right? So there's
because Roswell,
which is
like,
just
goes
hearsay rumor. It's
1947.
That stuff goes back to like 1947. These people described those materials, and these were rural farmers, which that was the part of the case that really got me interested in down this rabbit hole when I was a young, you know, I was studying physics at college, and I was like, oh, what's up with this UFO stuff back in, 2004, after my friend gave me Behold a Pale Horse, and I read all the UFO stuff and there's a whole chapter in Behold a Pale Horse on this, about this guy who said he went to a crash site out in Pennsylvania, and there was like tents out there and everything was cordoned off, and they had all the contractors staying at this hotel locally, and they rented out like the whole hotel and wouldn't let anyone else stay there, and that they were bringing that he was searched before he went in and searched when he came out at the end of the day. And he said that
I was gonna say, can I give you a little pushback on Behold a Pale Horse?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I've debunked
Okay. All right. Just wanted to hear you say that, because I've also read it, and I remember when the first time I read it, I was like, "What is going on? What is this? Isn't real.
Yes.
Life isn't real." No, I was freaking out. I thought it was all real, And then, of course, I got older. I read it again. I'm like, okay, this is pretty silly. But there are parts of it that you say that
there's a lot of good stuff in there. I mean, there is some gems hidden in the turds, but the punch bowl, a turd in the punch bowl. I don't know whether the turds outweigh the punch or how you want to look at it. But I've come to debunk a lot of the stuff in that book, but at least sent me down these rabbit holes and stuff. And a lot of the stuff is like, it's just hearsay and it can't be confirmed, and you just have to kind of take it as is. But the thing is that as I pointed out in my debriefing summary, it was like, for the senators, and what I think the government should do about this is that if there isn't an MJ-12, is there a real group? And there should be, and it should be like, it should be public. We should know all about this stuff. I mentioned, FEMA has, the protocols to like lock down sites and take control, but also they have that Office of Alien what is it? The Office of Alien Custodian.
Are you talking about at NATO or not NATO?
No, it was developed. It was. I have this whole thing with my report. Let me bring it up. It was. It happened in 1917 actually, and it was called the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, and it created what was called the Office of Alien Property, and it assigned a designated custodian called the Alien Property Custodian. And
really?
They issued an annual report in June of 1945, and you can download it and read it online. But yeah, it's basically anyone who's trading with the enemy or trading, and the enemy can be considered these threats. Keep in mind, this is very vague language in these laws that were written and enacted that we don't even know about.
Yeah. Well, can we move on to because we still got 4 more things
oh
to talk
god
about.
there's so much stuff.
No,
so
I mean,
back to the technology. So there's one that was the metallic glass stuff, and
Right.
it goes back to Roswell and whether there's evidence out there of debris and where that exists and stuff. And I go over all that and stuff, but let's talk about that other stuff. Biomaterials.
Yep.
Those are interesting. I'm not much of a biologist and stuff, but they talk about these grafts and these skin grafts and these matrices that you can put on the skin to make rapid healing and stuff like that. It's
and
interesting.
I just want to before you go too deep, I just want to remind people that this is an actual government briefing. This was received through a Freedom of Information Act report. So all of the things that you're referencing here on this sheet are things that the government has and is studying. Yes.
Yeah. This is part of the technology side of ATIP. It was called OSAP, right?
Right.
And this not the Bergalia stuff. The Bergalia got that independently, but it of course. Well, actually, the Bergalia stuff is Bigelow Aerospace, which is OSAP.
Right.
BASS, it was called BAASS or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is if you want to get deep and dive deep into the technology releases that have come out, because then these aren't going to be talked about in the mainstream media and advertised on the news. But this is for our scientists, because we need our scientists to understand that these technologies and these capabilities exist, because China probably has them and is probably way ahead of us if that's what they are.
Do you think there's an espionage component here that we're really should be concerned about? Do you think that a lot of the work that we've done with ATIP and OSWAP and BASS has been compromised by the Chinese and the Russians?
No, because if you go through like a lot of this stuff and you dive deep on the scientific papers and who's writing the scientific papers, they're all Chinese names.
Oh, so we're working on espionage.
I would say like 70 to 80% are Chinese names. They're doing way more research on this stuff. They have way more capabilities because that we offshored all of our industry and all our chip manufacturing and all our electronics and semiconductors and electronics technology. We've been shipping it offshore for the last 20 years since the 1990s. There's very few companies that make computer chips and circuit boards and stuff in the U.S. and our semiconductors and topological insulators and all those technologies are definitely far behind what they've done over there, and that's our own fault. And there's been National Defense Department briefings on this, and if you listen to what they're talking about in national security discussions, this is a big topic because they had Chinese solar winds hack, the microchip hack, and that like all of our electronics are made in China. So all the stuff that Pentagon computers have to be scanned, they have to know what every chip on the board does, because the Chinese can just hide a little microchip on that board with these call home functions. And they were doing that with lots of these things that would connect it to it would find an internet across the network. It would find an internet connection and it would call home and start sharing data.
Wow. Well, then okay. So let's move on to materials for advanced aerospace platforms.
Well, and my question, and I don't want to I'm fearful a little bit that we get sucked into this and we don't get to your antimatter and anti-gravity research. So just make sure we have plenty of time for that. It's connected. Okay. All right. Cool. So go ahead, Luis. Sorry.
Yeah, no. We're the next thing on there is materials for advanced aerospace platforms.
Okay.
Yes. So about those materials, if you look up the Battelle, who I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned them before, but they were allegedly connected to Roswell, and they were allegedly the ones who analyzed this Roswell debris and have access to it. One of the few contractors, and they also manage all of our national labs. So there's a whole big scientific fiasco and conflict of interest going on there within the scientific community that numerous people have pointed out. But back to that paper. Go back to the thing on the screen. So these advanced materials and stuff, if you scroll down to some of that stuff, so the Battel's been developing these skin coatings for which you can look up, and it's related to these hypersonic these supercavitating technology. So if you look up, I sent you a
supercavitating.
Yeah, so supercavitation is like the big thing now in these transatmospheric vehicles, the ones that can go in and out of the air, into space, and into the water. They use a laser. Actually, it's a directed energy weapon. It directs laser energy just in front of the craft. And it literally boils all the air or like it instantaneously boils it. Kind of like it's almost like that pistol shrimp, where it creates this super cavitating bubble instantaneously in front of the craft, and then it basically creates an opening, or not like a wormhole, but it's an opening for this stuff to go through, and stuff, they use these lasers to basically create this pocket, this super cavitated pocket in front of the craft, and then they blast through. It makes it very easy because it's like all the air resistance or all the water resistance is moved out of the way.
Gone, right?
And that's what a lot of these surface coatings are being developed for, that dual purpose. And I won't get into too much of the technology here about how they work because it's not relevant. But if you're interested, we discuss it on the APEC conferences and get into it real deep with the scientists.
Where can people find that if they want to find? Well, first of all, just tell people where they can find you. And you're not going anywhere yet. We still got you for another 25 minutes. But if you could tell people where they could find that and where they could find you real quick, that'd be great.
Yeah, check me out on YouTube, Alien Scientist, and also alienscientist.com, and YouTube, Alien_Scientists. That's my Twitter handle.
Just FYI, I'm putting the links to these articles and papers that were written by our government, so you guys can check them out as well at your own leisure. But this picture here I found very interesting because this is the technology that you're referencing. And let me ask you, with this tech, because I know one of the biggest things about doing hypersonic travel is the heat, the friction that it causes with the plane itself, and the outside of the plane is obviously made of special materials. Does this reduce that heat friction? Because if it's creating a pocket of nothing in front of it,
it creates the heat in front of the craft, but it creates it at a localized point, and with such violence and intensity that it literally explodes and super cavitates and at every point in front of the thing. So
that's insane.
That's insane.
Can I just mention too, when you get into studying like the ceramic research and technologies for advanced like metamaterials, when it comes to ceramics, that could also explain the white colored tic tac sort of technology with the super cavitation going on, because the ceramic type coatings around certain craft or drone technology would prevent that heating as well, and also possibly the self-illuminating effect where these things seem to glow or whatever. It could potentially hypothetically be because of this super cavitation technology that they're using.
So could this be? If we were to hypothesize, let's hypothesize two things. One is perhaps this is, if what you're saying is true and the government is 40 years ahead of commercial technology, could this have been implemented in something like a Tic Tac that David Fravor and Alex Dietrich saw? Could this be earthly tech, just based on how far advanced these governments could be? Or could these simply be just the outmaneuverings or the advanced technology of extraterrestrials? Where do you land these days after studying this for so long?
I went through a lot of like the more basic technologies. T.D. Barnes he's like the guy who worked out at Area 51, who was the head projects manager out at Area 51 for the CIA for years. T.D. Barnes was asked in an interview that he did with what's the guy's name? Now I'm drawing a blank. It was on I forget I'll post a link to it later, but he was at T.D. Barnes basically was asked about the Tic Tac and what he thought. And he immediately said Project Palladium and Project Nemesis, which were these two projects involving balloons. and CIA's research with balloons. They could spoof radar with these balloons, and then it advanced into these other ways that they could spoof radar, and talked about all these types of radar spoofing stuff. And it led me, well, of course, I knew Ed Fouché, who was a Area 51 F-15 technician who got a little bit of glimpse of some of the stuff out on the base, and he actually started that whole TR-3B rumor, which we're yet to see if they roll that thing out, but who knows.
Well, if that thing rolls out, if thing rolls out, the TR-3B is that that triangle craft that people claim is a top secret U.S. military project, and it's been seen all over the place, and there's this rumor that won't go away. But from what I understand,
that's what everyone focuses on about his story is the TR-3B. But I think like some of the more important stuff that is the technical stuff that he talked about. He taught me a lot about how the military works and a lot of these terms and stuff. And like one of the terms I learned was called ECCMs. And those are called electronic countermeasures. They were actually developed at a place called Site 4 at Tonopah Test Range, believe it or not. And Tonopah Test Range, they developed these ECCMs were electronic countermeasures and electronic countermeasures. Is what they are. So it's ECMs and ECCMs. And these countermeasures are basically ways to counter, your electronic countermeasures. Your electronic countermeasures are your radar, your systems for detecting aircraft, and like he was talking about the bleep, where they chirp and they have to chirp back friendly, and the transponder and all that stuff. So there's all this technical. I wish I understood this better, and I could rattle it off and sound more professional. But the whole idea is that these things are sorry, I lost my train of thought. Where's
That's all right. Don't sweat it. Well, while you're thinking about it, don't sweat it, dude. It happens to me all the time. But I was going to say, Michael, we should reset the room just real quick for people who are tuning in for the first time, just to catch them up on what we're talking about. Real quick, I'm your co-host, Luis Jimenez. Michael Mataluni is your host. His wife, Kristen Mataluni, is also here helping us tonight. And Carl Vibe, who's got his, would you say a transcendental channel? What would you call your channel?
I explore the mystical side of consciousness and reality, how it relates to all of it with like ancient teachings and things like that, and how that might bear on this subject.
Right on. Okay. And then we've also got, of course, Jeremy Reese, alien scientist, who is the technology and he's a technology expert and archivist. He's a skeptic on YouTube personality, and yeah, so he's got an amazing channel. Definitely check it out. And just quick reminders, of course, we've got our this show here, Singularity Lab, every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and then we've got my show, the Unidentified Celebrity Review, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and tomorrow we've got our interview with Lou Elizondo at 4 p.m. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that share button on this channel and my channel, so that way you guys don't miss a show, because between the two of us, we're doing one every day. So yeah, just wanted to get that out of the way and make sure that everybody's aware of that. And just again, thank you everybody in the chat for just being killer and sticking around. I know there's a huge interview going on right now with the UFO podcast. They're interviewing Lou Elizondo. So you guys are killer for sticking around, and we really appreciate it. But as soon as we're done here, definitely go support their show, because they're really cool dudes. And yeah, that's it.
And I was just going to say, so make sure you come tomorrow to UCR, because we're gonna be interviewing Lou Elizondo, and we've had some time to really craft some questions. So maybe there'll be questions you haven't heard before.
Yep.
Do you guys think it's relevant that from this Omaha incident with the radar that just got dropped and all of that today is 150 miles from Lockheed Martin Skunk Works? Do you think that's relevant?
Well, yeah,
probably is.
We should always be considerate, and that's again, that's part of the big reason I want to have this conversation too. Again, with alien scientists today, Jeremy Reese, is because I think it's so important for us to I believe that we should be looking at all the data and making the best decisions possible, not based on beliefs or bias that creates self-fulfilling prophecy, but on what the reality of the situation is. And the fact is that our governments, are way ahead of the curve when it comes to technology. Could the Tic Tac be government technology? Sure. Could it be extraterrestrial? Sure. Could it be interdimensional? Sure. We don't know. That's the
a
bottom
mix
line.
of both. It could be reverse engineered from recovered debris or materials going back to 1947, or we've got word that there's
and this is their way of rolling it out.
The Italian government has a whole craft that Mussolini was aware of, apparently, and there's a lot.
Right, but the whole thing is that there would be trials and like criminal charges pressed against if there was that degree of a cover up. So they kind of have to like let the information out and never admit to that. And this is kind of the soft disclosure or the way that they're controlling it and doing it. That's like the whole conspiracy theory, anyway.
Well, it wouldn't. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, Susan Goff. I mean, she, her job is to. She wrote the book on this, on helping, running governmental psyops, utilizing psychology to infiltrate the public mind and to get the best result that they want out. You look at things today like the CDC, and they're shitty at it. They don't have a Susan Goff, right? They need they need somebody who can run it the way the DoD runs it, but that's just not the reality. So at the end of the day, Jeremy, like, I really want to know what you think. Do you think the Tic Tac is reverse engineered and this is a soft disclosure moment? Or what do you think at the end of the day this is what's really going on here?
There's so many scientists in my group. We've talked about all these different technologies. Like we were just talking about ECCMs when I lost my train of thought and we took that little break. So I'll bring it back to that. And because I've gotten into it with a lot of these witnesses of that saw these things. They were on Twitter for a while, and I used to engage with them and be like, "Well, what do you think about ECCMs and some of this stuff?" And he's, "I'm briefed on everything that we're current capables." And I forget who it was. I think it was PJ Hughes I was talking to, and he said he was like, he knew all about that stuff, and he said these things, there's no way, it's got to be something else. I said, well, what about I sent him that DARPA article on the what the military.com article. I think I sent it to you about on the creating talking plasma balls. The one where they can literally they can create these plasma balls and move them around in space, and they could create any shape that they want with these plasma balls and then make it talk. And I was saying that this is like what I think Skinwalker Ranch is. Because all that stuff that happened at Skinwalker Ranch, I was like, well, if they're going to test this stuff and they were going to pick a place to test it, the best place they could pick would be a place with like legends where they could blame it all on weird, paranormal crap. And
which is right over the mountain range, the Wasatch Mountain Range from Area 52. You've got Area 51 in Nevada, and then that entire area goes clear across the state of Nevada, up into Utah, north of where I live, all the way to the Salt Flats and what they're calling Area 52 now, where they did tons of chemical weapons testing, tons of nuclear and radiation testing, all sorts of random flight tests of strange craft. And so it makes you wonder if they're doing any kind of experimental testing, and they use these indigenous peoples, Native American land with the folklore in order to kind of hide their secrets.
That's my whole hypothesis on my whole hypothesis on that Skinwalker Ranch stuff. I really think it's that. I think that it started at MK Ultra Project 68 out at Camp Hero on Montauk, and then they moved it there when that shut down, or they moved it somewhere else when that shut down in like the late 70s or early 80s. So there's all kinds of stuff that there's lots of rabbit holes for people to research. Yeah. There's lots of money, lots of taxpayer dollars that have been spent on a lot of really crazy research.
Yeah.
Well, and I find it fascinating. We think about like the DOE, and that's where a lot of this research is being done, and that's the easiest place to funnel the money in for the research to be done is the DOE, because then they can just subcontract out other companies to do it, and they get complete cover from Congress.
The money too, but didn't I tell you about that article the other day where they said that the Pentagon's never been successfully audited ever?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Another huge problem.
And I can tell you, the Pentagon's not the only arm of our government that hasn't been audited correctly. There's a lot of parts of our government. But I wanted to double down what you said, Michael, earlier about Susan Goff and her, basically, she wrote the book on psyops. This is a 2011 article from the Rolling Stone. Okay, and the name of this article is "Another Runaway General: Army Deploys Psyops on U.S. Senators."
Yep.
Okay, like I was 31 when this came out, so I definitely missed this one. But this idea that they were, just in the first sentence here, whose phone is that? What's going on?
What is it?
Hey, give me 1 sec.
Okay, all right, no worries. So the first paragraph is the U.S. Army illegally ordered a team of soldiers specializing in psychological operations to manipulate visiting American senators into providing more troops and funding for the war. Rolling Stone has learned. And when an officer tried to stop the operation, he was railroaded by military investigators. Like,
dude, this doesn't surprise me at all.
Look, the orders came from a command of Lieutenant General William Caldwell, a 3-star general in charge of training Afghan troops. So they would bring in senators, and they make them feel like VIPs, and they'd say, "Look, Senator, this is all the good we're doing. This is what," and it was just this psychological operation to convince Congress and senators to give them more money to fund war.
But there would be some that are so easy to manipulate.
Oh my God, so many.
But here's the thing that scares me: is who went to jail for this?
Yeah.
Who was charged for treason for this? Who? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why.
Yeah,
it's like we're living in exciting times, but we have to be as vigilant and as we have to be. We really, 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 all of us can do a big favor of just stepping back, taking a deep breath, and reading articles like this, just to remind yourself, hey, these things are possible. But the only way that we can stay on top of this is if we have conversations that challenge our thought processes and systems. And I'm just like, if you think that doing a psychological operation on U.S. senators, and I don't remember hearing anybody getting charged with treason or like hangable kind of offenses, because that's what this is. We're lying to Congress on purpose to get more money to drop bombs and kill more people.
Right.
So
and the question,
I was going to say, I'm sorry to finish my point.
Well, they're telling us. They're telling us that they don't have this technology, but I just showed you like hundreds of documents showing like that there's crazy stuff that like.
But maybe. No, my point is that if the United States as a whole looked at this and didn't demand somebody get in big trouble, they're not going to care when or if this whole thing turns out to be something very similar to this. Like, like 20,000 people in UFO Twitter are not going to get anybody arrested for treason. So we have to be careful. Like, we have to be careful. So I just wanted to just touch on that because you said it, Michael, and it reminded me of this article. And there's a lot of information being thrown out there by both sides, all sides. Not even there's more than two sides. And we have to take all of this information into consideration, and we have to look for examples of where this has happened. And this is a very recent example. And I'm just saying, keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel.
I agree, and that's why it's so challenging. And I'll turn it over to you, Jeremy, in just 20 seconds. But it's so challenging because everybody has what they believe is happening. They know what the reality is, and the reality is we hardly ever know what the reality is. Very few times do we really know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No. I was reading a cool article this morning about a 2-year-old with 184 IQ who was admitted to Mensa, which is quite remarkable. Now I'm really worried about her now that we're having this conversation.
Right. Yeah, she's going to be enrolled in PsyOps tomorrow. Go ahead, Jeremy. Right. Sorry.
All right, hey man, I forgot that I got to go at 9. I'm gonna go with Michael Schratt's gonna be jumping on with me, and that was him calling because we're gonna be doing. He actually has a whole bunch of UFO cases, right? Like he's looked up 12 cases now historically that are like just like the Tic Tac with like good sightings and good like descriptions of the craft. and we're going to go over like all of them. So he's going to come on the show, and we're going to talk about some of this, and we're going to talk about the locations of those sightings in reference to the locations of these recent sightings, and give some perspective and use that as a geographical kind of research basis for what kind of activities are going on in those areas that we might want to look into or consider when assessing what these technologies could be. What these things that we're seeing are they Chinese drones that are spying on us? Are they threats from somewhere else in another universe? We don't know. I guess that's what draws a lot of people to this. A lot of people interested.
You're going live. You're going live now with that conversation now on your channel
at 5 minutes.
Okay, tell everybody where they can, if they want to follow that, how they can do that.
Yeah, go check it out on Alien Scientist on YouTube, Alien Scientists. And guys, thanks for having me on the Singularity Lab. I love what you guys are doing with this putting these minds together and getting different people's perspectives on this, because I learn a lot by listening to all your guests, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, the pleasure's ours, Jeremy. We really appreciate you coming by. Make sure you follow Jeremy at his channel. I'll make sure I get, I believe I actually have your link in the description, so people can just pop right over there after this.
We could do double live too, man, if you want. I don't know. Cross the streams.
Cross the streams.
Well, we end the show in 8 minutes, so it would be a weird double live.
Yeah, everyone can jump over there after this is done, man. Don't all leave at once, because we're not going to start up over there, and I gotta go set it up and get Michael ready. So
beautiful. Well, Jeremy, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll check you out over at Alien Scientist.
Awesome, guys. Thanks.
Later, brother. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it. Real quick, Luis, I wanted to hit on what you had to say too, because this idea that, okay, so how do you differentiate psyops from marketing?
That's a great question, man. I don't know.
Rules, right?
Like what? What are the rules? What are isn't marketing just psyops? Isn't what I do all day for a living psyops?
A little bit. I mean, I guess it is a version of psyops, but what we really need is somebody who did this, to really sort of help us with it. And I would say maybe that would be Lou Elizondo. I mean, he is I wouldn't say he does psyops, but it's in the realm. But I mean, to ask him all about this, I think would be inappropriate. It would put him in an awkward position to answer these things. But we need somebody who's actually done this, I think.
Chris says marketing has a product, and I would argue, and I appreciate what you're saying, Chris, but I would argue the product is the money. Right? It's the money. They're after the money. They're after the bombs. They're after the the support. So
the budgets.
They're after the money.
What was the 10 billion that Amazon just got? Not Amazon, but
Bezos. Did you see that?
Did you see that? He had a bunch of lobbyists. He lost his contract to Sky.
He lost his contract to
yeah. So now he
SpaceX.
He had a bunch of lobbies. Now a bunch of senators are trying to get him 10 billion in grant or some.
Yeah, for Kuiper.
Yeah, it seems like the psyops are more focused on an agenda or hiding things, and then the marketing is involved, like moving money or getting the budgets moved around. But what gets me is that, like, these types of sightings and like Tic Tacs and flying pyramids and inverted pyramids and things like that, I mean, they go clear back into World War II and before that even. And it's so strange when you start to dig into the history of it. Where do you pin it down? I mean, who do you haul up in front of the courtroom and hold accountable when this stuff goes back literally decades?
Who was it? General Lieutenant, whatever the fuck his name is. That's who, right?
They couldn't do it with a 3-star General William Caldwell. You know what I'm saying?
Why can't you hold William Caldwell accountable? Is it because his orders are coming from higher up?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure if you start opening that can of worms, I mean, where do you think that order came from to start fooling senators to increase a budget?
Well, it's
the
weirder.
Pentagon.
It's so weirder than that too, because all this stuff gets compartmentalized and hidden under commercial contracts and organizations that the government pays to hide this stuff and to get it out of the government's wheelhouse and into private corporations like Bigelow Aerospace and Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and stuff. These are like private corporations and entities that they can do these secret projects in to keep it out from under their liability, and they can have plausible deniability. If it comes back onto their doorstep, they can say, oh, this is all being done privately. So, I mean, are these things flying around our naval ships and doing this because they're being secretly created in these black ops programs and hidden from us? Or is it's so blended where it all begins and ends? It's very, very messy.
Is there that one guy who has the job that makes all the money, that just signs off on everything and takes the liability for it?
Oh, Barney Stinson. Y'all remember that? Do you ever watch How I Met Your Mother?
Oh, yeah.
But they never
Barney,
knew what his job was. He made all this money, and then finally he admits that he's just like the liability.
He's the fall guy, right? He gets paid millions to be the fall guy, and that I wonder if there are people like that in higher ups in the military.
They're underneath. There's the big umbrella with the people at the top, and then way down here, there's somebody that sits there that's going to take the fall and the blame for all of it. That if they do come knocking,
Yeah. Fucking nuts, you guys.
Well, can I squeeze one last thing in there?
Yeah,
I mean, we wanted to talk about, what was it? It wasn't. Gosh, I just lost it. Trying to see if it's on our show sheet.
Let's see. We covered the 5 observables.
Yeah, no, I guess it doesn't matter. I was something that happened. I don't know. I just lost my train of thought. But yeah. Anyway,
it's been a long day. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
I have to say thank you to everybody in the chat today. Y'all have been extraordinary. The fact that we have people who care so deeply about this topic and who are willing to dig in and really, be interested in things that are beyond their current belief system. I think for me, that's why I do the show. That's what I love about it. I always want to know what's going on beyond what I already think, believe, and know. And the more I know, the more I realize I know this much. So it's just an absolute pleasure to be able to share the stage with you guys. Carl Vibe, if you have not followed Carl Vibe, make sure you do so. Carl, how can people find you?
Go to Carl Vibe on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I just started a TikTok as well to do cuts of my show on a TikTok into 60 seconds and stuff. Nice. So I want to have everybody on here over onto my show to introduce this topic, and have Jeremy, the alien scientist, and everybody over, and we can go into different types of, a little bit more conspiratorial if we want to, and get really weird with it over there. I would love to do that. And I just want to mention really quick, for everybody that does get involved in the chat, there was record numbers today. It does make a huge difference. As somebody that does YouTube full time for a living, as a content creator, everybody commenting, hitting the like button, getting involved and posting comments. And then even after the video's done, going over to the main comments section and leaving comments as well. It helps push the algorithm. It gets the video pushed out in front of people that are interested in looking for this topic. And it drives the traffic, and it gets the system geared up, just like stoking the fire to bring more people over here. And it's also really helpful for us when we're doing the show to look over. It reminds me of things constantly that I wanted to bring up, and good points that need to be made. Even if you're not featured on screen, it really helps a lot.
Yeah. You are the man, Carl. And I just want to mention that, sometimes when we get older, we say things like a TikTok because...
A TikTok account, not the Tic Tac. I don't have a Tic Tac.
I do it on purpose to make my kids mad.
You got to break out there. You got to get this stuff seen, and we're gonna do it however we can.
Hey, we'll do it however we can. I started a TikTok too as a 42-year-old man, so don't sweat it.
Yeah. I gotta start my TikTok.
A TikTok account?
Yeah. I gotta start my TikTok account.
Oh man, Carl, again, great to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I can't wait to come over to your show again. It was a blast last time.
Let's do it next week. Let's do it.
You got it, Carl. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, dude.
What a great show.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, Chris MS is going to join a TikTok. Well, I just want to say, I think people should come over to the Unidentified Celebrity View tomorrow to check out our interview with Elizondo.
Yeah, we're doing our interview with Lou Elizondo tomorrow, 4:00 Pacific Standard Time at the Unidentified Celebrity Review. So make sure you ring the bell, not only here but over there, so you're reminded when we go live with that. It should be a really fun show. Again, we're going to be taking questions from you guys as well for the last 15-20 minutes. So get them ready. Obviously that's going to be a good time. So yeah, is there anything else I need to do?
I don't think I think we're good. I think just make sure, if you haven't followed the Unidentified Celebrity Review and you want to see our interview with Lou Elizondo tomorrow, make sure you click the link in either of Luis's link tree or my link tree down below in the description. Make sure you're subscribed. You ring the bell for the Unidentified Celebrity Review, so you have that. You can also click our link trees below to follow us on Twitter. I'm at Singularity Mike. Luis is in the description as well at Lou Angelis.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep. Well, my link tree is in the description below. It's all there for you guys. It's easy.
Hit Kristen too. Hit Kristen on Twitter as well. At K Matalun. It's fun.
Oh, and by the way, we hit 503 subscribers tonight on your channel.
Boom.
503. So we broke a lot of records tonight. First of all, it was a record live streamers. So that's, a huge accomplishment. We had a producer looking at the numbers, and we've also went over 500 subs. So that's a big deal, you guys. We're halfway to getting this channel monetized. So that means that, when you guys join the show, you could help support as much in wherever you can. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And by the way, we've made that growth here in less than a month.
Yeah.
That's killer. So that means that you guys are sharing the show. You guys are loving the show. You're enjoying the content. So thank you.
Yes, we will be both. Duncan asked, will we both be interviewing Elizondo? Yes, we will both be interviewing Elizondo. Mm-hmm. We've also got our amazing producer. I'm not going to say his name backstage because he's very shy. But he's been working with us to build some questions. It's gonna be the bomb.
Yep.
All right, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining the Singularity Lab, and we will see you tomorrow at UCR, the Unidentified Celebrity.
Should we end with the schedule?
Yeah. Do you have it ready? I've got the outro ready.
Okay. I say hit the schedule or hit the outro, and then I'll hit the schedule.
You got it.
All right.
Boom.
Ooh, that one's cool. I haven't seen that one yet, Mikey.
Oh, you haven't seen the thank you?
No, that's cool. I like it.
Super retro.
Feels like Stranger Things.
It does. The intro too. I still can't get over my face there. It's still embarrassing every time I see it.
It's so funny. It's so funny. Oh, you need something there, Mikey.
Oh shit. You're right.
Yeah.
That's just empty space.
Now we know.
Yikes.